joint meeting of the Berlin Mayor and Council for December 9th to order. Would you join me in a moment of silence and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Keeping with the agenda, the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we remove the work session for number 1 out for a separate vote due to one of our colleagues absent.
It has been moved and seconded that we remove the work session to a separate item. All those in favor?
Aye. And then I'll just,
And is there any opposition to this agenda? Well, the ayes have it. So is there a motion to accept the record?
make a motion. So moved.
Second. It has been moved and seconded that we accept the regular session minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Ayes have it.
I'll make a motion to approve the work session minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the work session minutes be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition?
Abstaining because I wasn't here.
We have a vote of the council with one abstention. Moving to agenda item 2. Taylor Harris Museum 250th anniversary. Is Miss Melissa Reed?
How are you guys doing tonight?
Hello.
I know that it is, I came to give you guys an update of what the museum's going to be doing for America's 250th anniversary, which is in 2026. I know that's a whole year from now, but we have some things in the planning stages that we felt like we wanted the whole town to sort of know about, just, for planning purposes. We feel like the Taylor House Museum for the last several years has worked to focus on events and get our name out there in the community a little more, and that has been fairly successful. We've definitely had some more successful events lately, but we feel like the United States 250th anniversary gives us a chance to sort of reorient everybody back to the fact that we are a museum. We do have events, which is great, but we, really our mission is to tell the stories of Berlin. So we are going to focus on some things that can allow us to do that. And some of them sort of involve town history and things like that, which is why we wanted to present it to you all. There are 3 different things we're focusing on. One of them is an exhibit that we're going to be doing that focuses on showing Berlin, the sort of renaissance of Berlin, or the regeneration of Berlin with the focus on uncovering the historic downtown. In our photo archives, we have some fascinating photographs of what Berlin looked like in the 70s. And some of us that were here remember that, but I think there are lots of people that have come to Berlin or that have grown up since then that really don't know what Berlin looked like in the 1970s, and the community effort it took to get to where we are today. And so our hope for that exhibit is to really show some before and after photographs so that people can see what it used to look like, and again, like that community work it took to get us where we are today. And then another piece is a multimedia walking tour. We know that Savannah Hastings did a walking tour, and we know there was one that Paul Tuart did years ago, which we did get a copy of. We were able to get a copy of that. What we would like to do is take, again, some of the images we have from our archives and the information we have at the museum and do a walking tour that would allow people to sort of use their phone to do sort of before and after, again, that's the before and after pictures, and also the interconnectedness of industries in Berlin, businesses in Berlin. It would move a little past the sort of historic house tours that have been done in the past and do a little bit more of the industries. For example, if, you know, because we had Harrison Nurseries, there was a basket factory that was founded because you needed a basket for all the peaches. And you had the ice plant to put ice in the railroad cars, that kind of thing. So we like people, and the ice plant is still in existence today. It's a good example of sort of that circular focus that we're going to do for this walking tour. So it would be a situation where you have something on your phone, probably through our website, and you could go and stand in front of the ice plant now. You could go and see where the railroad station was. So it's kind of you're standing in front of a space now, you're looking at it now, but then here's what it looked like in the past. So we're hoping to kind of expand the sort of history of Berlin and add some visual images to it as well. So that's going to be a big undertaking. That's what we're hoping to roll out for 2026. And then the other thing, we're looking at keeping most of our events the same. There is one more event that we would be adding to our roster events in 2026. We're looking to do an oyster roast. We know those are hugely popular. Berlin has never done that. So we're hoping that that will be something that the museum is going to add to our list of events for that 2026 year. Again, to celebrate local seafood industry, tying back into industries of Berlin. And then this is farther down the road, but I want to kind of keep you all updated on another piece that we're working on, which is we're hoping to have some information in 2026. We will not start it then, but we have uncovered some foundations of some outbuildings on the museum lawn. We know there were outbuildings. We didn't know how many we still had on our property. And we just uncovered a foundation of the smokehouse. So we're going to do an archaeological dig in partnership probably with Maryland Historical Trust. We're working with Aaron Leventhal, who has done the archaeological dig at Radcliffe House. So that's going to allow us to, that's going to take several years for the planning of that, because we're hoping that that's going to allow us to tell a fuller story of all the people that lived on the property at the Taylor House Museum, not just the family that lived there, but certainly the enslaved people that lived there as well. So we're looking to utilize that opportunity to tell those stories. So that is a little farther down the road, but we just wanted to kind of keep you guys up to date on what we're doing.
Dr. Reed, every time I see you, I just get so excited. You always bring something flavorful to the table. So hearing these themes has me so excited. I can't wait to see the different pieces unfold. Berlin is very fortunate to have you.
Well, it's a group effort, you know.
Well, I mean, of
It's a
course,
group effort.
the Taylor House Museum as well.
Thanks. So, anyway, that's it.
I just have a question.
Certainly.
What is the projected date for the oyster roast?
That's a great question. Probably in the fall. I'm thinking we were kind of tossing back and forth. October, November, probably November, because that's the one month we don't really have anything big yet, if that makes sense. So, and plus it's the fall, so that's kind of what we were thinking about tentatively.
Is that good oyster season?
Anything that ends in R.
I think it's any month that ends in R. It's kind of-
Any month that ends in R?
Every month that ends with an R.
Yes.
Well, depending on where you live, any month that you put an R. Jamar?
Yes, it would be the fall. Late fall, yes.
I'm excited about the multimedia tour. I think that sounds really cool because
Yeah.
we are a town full of late, some come heres, so like I have a photograph of Berlin hardware on my office, and I had a friend that came by and he said, "Oh, what is that now?" Of course, we know the Borgata, but not many folks do.
Yeah.
So I think that fact is where IGA used to be.
Well, you was at
there's a
Frank,
lot
so
of
that, I remember that so
like
vividly
Q1.
from my childhood.
Yeah,
But, you know,
and
yeah.
I think also that interconnectedness of buildings and businesses in Berlin is something I didn't really know about until sort of recently. One industry leads to all these other ancillary industries, and then when one fails, how it all sort of,
True.
also fails. So, yeah, that one I'm looking forward to that one too. I think it could be really compelling. And we're working with we're working to make sure that it is as professional as we, as we can make it. Yeah.
So you're looking to do that on an app, phone app or something?
It would be, the way, I think the most cost-effective way to do it would be, it would be housed on our website. So, and we were certainly going to talk, work with the town on how we publicize that, visitors coming, but you would use your own phone to access our website and then go to that tour, but then you'd have a way to sort of pause it and, stop and start, depending on what you were doing and where you were going. But I think it would be, for us, an app is, I think, out of our price range of the ongoing cost of an app, where if we get housed on our website and direct people there, then it's always on our website, and
Yeah, you don't need an app
these
for
people
that.
to our website, yeah, our
We don't
website
need
anyway.
it.
Yeah, I think that might be a little beyond our technological capacities, but yeah, it would be housed on our website.
One other question, you have a multitude of historical pictures of Berlin. Would it be possible that some could be loaned out to a gallery or even displayed in City Hall?
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, I have a meeting tomorrow with the gentleman from Oaked at the Globe, who's going to look at some of our photos. And actually, I should probably put this out here to the whole town. We are always looking for photos too. I know that sometimes people will post on a couple of the websites, like, do you remember when, or if you're Berlin, if you had this. We are always looking for and glad to accept any photographs that people, have of any aspect of Berlin life. Because it allows us then to put them back out there, like we're going to do for this exhibit about sort of Berlin in the 1970s compared to now, and what we will do for this multimedia walking tour. So yeah, we have some compelling photographs. There's some really fascinating images that right now are not out.
Sure.
And so we have a photo policy about how we loan out our images or how we can reproduce images. Absolutely.
Well, explain that real quick, because I know that, remember when we were working on our family's exhibit, my mother was a bit apprehensive lending you her pictures. But when you explained the process, she gave them to you knowing what it is. So can you explain that real quick for those who don't know?
So for our photo policy, we have, and again, like you're saying, we have sort of Burdell family photographs. We have a couple of other sort of collections that have been donated to us. But then we have photos that we consider our own collection. For something like the Burdell family is a great example. We would be reaching, if someone came to us and said, we would like to reproduce a Burdell family photo, it would be in our responsibility to reach out to you all first. But the images that are in our collection, if people come to us, and we have varying price points, if that makes sense. For nonprofits, it's minimal. For businesses, we do charge a little bit more, and they have the right to then reproduce it and hang it in their businesses. For something like the Chamber of Commerce, that would just be, we would share it and it would be put up there without cost. But if people have given us photographs, they have every right to say, we want you to house it, but please don't display it unless you reach out to us first. And that's certainly our responsibility to do that. So we have, lots of different ways that we can house photographs, depending on what people want to do with them.
If somebody wanted to get in touch with the museum to donate or figure out the process, just call, email?
Just call the museum, email the museum. info@taylorhousemuseum.org is our general email. I can't think of our phone number off the top of my head, but it's on our website. 410-641 something. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And again, with anything, we always have people who are cleaning out attics, moving houses. We're always glad to look through art. We do have a policy for collecting things, for donations, but we are always looking for anything that helps us, again, like turn around and tell the stories of Berlin. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions from the public for Dr. Reed?
Dr. Reed, just downtown, or would that include the other side?
That is a great question. We're trying to figure that out because it's basically a walking tour, but I think what we would like to do is have a walking tour, but then say, if you go to Germantown School, St. Paul, the Isaiah Facet sign, it'd be nice to be able to do both, have a walking tour, but then have here other resources, and if you have the chance, here other places that might be a little bit more out of your sort of small area of downtown. But those are important stories for us as well, so we'll probably have that two-piece to it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving to agenda item 3A, resolution 2404, and that's adopting design guidelines. Murray, second.
I'll also note that Matt Starr, the chair of the planning commission, is in the audience and available to discuss as well. The intent here is that to take the Worcester County design guidelines and standards and adopt them as the town's for the time being, until at such time as the town can produce its own document. As you can see from looking through the Worcester County document, it's quite extensive. So it's more than just a notion to produce a PDF of a document. The resolution gives the guidelines by which the planning commission would have the ability to make recommendations to developers, waive or expand on guidelines and standards that are discussed in the document, and go from there. There is a page within what you have that it describes some minor changes that have been made. Basically, most of them have been, most of them have been exchanging shalls for shoulds or shoulds for shalls, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the gist of it. Both the Historic District Commission and the Planning Commission have reviewed this, vetted it, and are making recommendations.
Matt, do you have anything to add?
No, the only thing I would add is the importance of this. Our meetings, absolutely. The importance of this has grown vastly over the last 8 months. Our meetings have seen more lawyers involved than in the last 4 years. It's no longer a guy down the street who wants to build, but somebody from out of town. Some of them are willing to work with us. Some of them are taking a much tougher stance. This is a stopgap until we can, produce our own set of documents, but this will give us what we need to protect Berlin.
So, with that being said, how would this be not just seen as exactly that, and a developer can just do what they feel they can anyway?
Well, so right now, when we say we want a certain design in a building, our power basically is make it look like Berlin. It's too vague. This is giving us, on page 72, it shows this. On page 84, it shows this is the type of building structure, building material that we want. Is this a perfect document? No. Gosh, no. This will need to be updated, but this will buy us time, until we have a planning director in place who I imagine is going to take 6 to 12 months to catch up with the backlog, learns what Berlin is, and knows how we need to go about and create our own document.
So you and I spoke, and I mentioned up in here that I understand the importance of this, and we do need it, but I am just concerned that I understand it's a living document, and this is just a basis, but I do have concern that it's still a little wishy-washy. Now, I did go through and look at all the shalls and the shoulds, and some of them, I understand and all that good stuff. And I did also want to say that in some areas of this, it still refers to, and this is just syntax, but it still refers to the county actual paragraph of code. So we might want to visit that.
And in the resolution and in other spots in the introduction, it does indicate that some of those, contradictions exist, but that it'll be more information will be provided as it's needed. This is as Matt said, a stopgap. This is in no way, shape, or form is it's being intended to be. This is it. We're done. So,
does the commission feel that this is enough as a stopgap? It's enough teeth
Yeah.
to talk with the developers and lawyers? And
Absolutely, because right now we have nothing.
Right.
Not nothing, that's such a blown out proportion statement, but we don't have.
Very little.
Very little.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have very little, and this gives us so much more than what we have. But yeah, absolutely.
So I would just like to throw out for the group to consider before we do the public part and the vote is since this is going to have to come, since it's going to come back after we have the planning director.
Right.
I don't want to set like a stringent time frame, but can we put somewhere in the motion? I'm not going to make an amendment now, but maybe a certain time frame after the planning director is onboarded that we tackle this. Can we?
I would be reluctant to do that only because with every passing day, we don't know what new things that planning director may deal with. Certainly, it's not a bad idea to say that you want something back within a reasonable period of time. I just wouldn't, don't constrict yourselves nor that incoming person too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think on that point, I could live with this longer than I could not having a comprehensive plan that's updated. You know, so I would kind of personally, I mean, obviously the super planning commission, you know, but you have to see if you agree with that or not. But to me, having this in place to address those situations that you all were facing, the repeated coming back, saying we need more, you know, it's like, poor folks, you know, that's brick, you know, of course, that's what respond to. But so I kind of feel like I'm not sure about putting a timeline on that we would potentially have to move the goalpost down the road anyway. I would see that's what I'm interested in. So you know, after this, after the planning director, and what comes first? Is it the comp plan?
That's a great question.
I would pretend, my opinion would be, I think it's the comp plan, and hope that this could be a stopgap a little bit longer than we possibly. Because I agree with your timeline there. We're talking months without the person is put in place. Just to learn Berlin and get acclimated and all the different transitions that will come place.
But during that process, I guess this was the question that I had, and I didn't want to make it cringy or even come out sounding twisted. But this is a living document, and as the new person comes in, or even as we see things in this as you're going through, you know what I mean? Because I know you guys have spent a lot of time looking through this, but as something comes up, like say you get this guy in and he's talking, I mean, I know we're in moratorium right now, or whatever it is, in here, and we're going through these things, and you see right now, ooh, this necessarily is not quite what we were hoping for Berlin. Are we, with it being living at the moment, can, other than the thous and shalls, can small things be amended, changed, edited, corrected?
I would think so. I think you can add them as appendices that will then be incorporated once you
That's what I didn't know,
revamp it. Yeah.
without the individual right now, as you're going through these pieces, or even as they first get here, and you guys together see, we necessarily didn't see this part. You know, we overlooked
Sure.
verse 4, chapter 6, 84 second corridor. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it will be. That's
Okay,
my
good.
understanding. I also do know from the historical district, Dr. Robert Pauley, who was on the commission for years, sent me over their 60-page or however many page documents for the building standards for that district, which I don't know how that ends up tying into the buildings and standards, but will probably end up playing a factor in that as well for that specific district. Because right now, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know it was housed anywhere, and I'm not sure a lot of people do. So it would be nice to eventually have that as part of this document as well.
Matt, this is certainly a welcome addition to the town, and I know it'll make your life a lot easier on the planning commission. But I did want to hear the reasoning behind changing some of the shoulds, shalls, and shalls to shoulds.
Sure.
I mean, like Councilman Horace stated, it does weaken the document when you go to, you shall do it as opposed to you should do it.
So we sat down for a number of hours and went through it and looked at ones that really aggressively stood out as, I don't think that's right. I can't really name, off the top of my head, there was one that talked about how far a parking lot had to be behind a building, and it was tied more into how an Ocean City layout would be.
Right.
And so, like I said, a lot of the changes were just, this is obviously not going to work for Berlin. Had we spent another 100 hours, I'd probably give you 200 more.
There was one specifically reference to handicap parking.
Mhm.
The county said it must be in front. And you change that, so allowing it to be in the back or wherever it gets closed.
Yeah.
I was wondering about it.
I just don't think it's feasible to say it needs to be in front in all buildings. What if you don't have a front parking lot?
Right.
What if your front parking lot doesn't have, it's only set up in Berlin for steps and there's no ramp?
Right, well, that, you have the power on a waiver, so that would allow those kind of situations. Right, okay.
And not to belabor that point, thanks, Jay. Some of the ones that I had here, Dave, Gaskell, did you look over this? Has anyone reviewed legally?
Not thoroughly. No.
Well, I mean, I'm just, some of them, like the A-frame signs on the sidewalk, page 58, I had a legal question. So just, I think that in due diligence, we would take note of those and look at them anyway, but those are just questions that I had. I'm not gonna go through the whole list. But,
One thing it makes mentions of is a technical review committee, which, as far as I know, we don't have. Is that correct?
I do not know what I have.
So things like that will have to be edited out.
And that is why there is language for right now that basically says anything that's written in here that conflicts, we can address as we get to it. When the final document that Berlin produces for Berlin's purposes exists, then we'll address those finer points. And I think that the Planning Commission did a really good job of not pigeonholing themselves by including language that allows them to make changes where appropriate. There may be some things in here that they never encounter.
and I did notice that too with the shalls and the shoulds, that there is room, I don't want to say coverage, but there is room for flexibility in this stopgap measure for the Planning Commission.
Exactly.
So that's why I was kind of let off the gas on it has to be shall. On most of these, I just, we want to make sure that we got something that's with teeth.
Well,
In the end.
and obviously there are areas that are not shalls, but the town code says shall.
Right.
The code will.
Okay.
It's called standards and guidelines,
Right, exactly.
because
It's not regulations,
Right, that's what I'm trying to get at.
laws.
And there's standards and guidelines which are subject not to being applied 100% of the time, because it's a standard and a guideline. If it says should instead of shall, well, maybe there's a good reason why it shouldn't be shall, or shouldn't be required, and that's a decision at the planning commission.
One thing I can tell you from my work on the Ocean City guidelines, when we did that way back when, developers really appreciate these documents.
Yes.
It just makes their job so much easier.
Yeah. And it keeps things more objective.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're not dealing with an individual's preference or their opinion, they're dealing with the document. Yeah. Do you have any comment from the public or questions? If not, it's the pleasure of the council.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-04, adopting guidelines of design and standards. And I messed up the title, but it's right there.
It's second by,
Oh, you said second before I did.
it has been moved by Councilmember Orris and second by Councilmember Nichols that this resolution be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? So moved.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys. Good job. Good job, PC.
Have a great holiday.
Move right along. We have motion 2467 to approve fair housing and equal opportunity and minority women business plans. And that's going to be led by Sarah and Mary. Sarah, please.
Ladies.
Yeah, so you do.
Good evening.
So, as a recipient of federal community development block grant funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban or Community Development, since we've received the funding from this department, they asked us to update our fair housing and equal opportunity plan and the women and minority business plans as well. Do you want me to read them?
They're in the packet, and they're available for. Essentially, these are housekeeping items. They're plans that have to be passed by the town every few years. There's actually an expiration that gets written in, and it keeps us qualified to apply for and receive block grant funding.
So this mainly applies when you're bidding out services, right?
Yes, the women and minority business, yes, correct.
Do you have to reach out to them separately or seek them out, or how does that work?
There are certain advertising requirements that have to be met, and there are certifications that qualifying businesses have to file to have themselves certified as qualifying businesses.
And do they get preferred treatment?
They move up in the bidding process, yes.
So when we haven't in a long time bid out for services like
Right.
engineering, whatever service we use, do those things have to be rebid?
No, those bidding requirements would apply to contractors working on the project that the funds are being used for. So not the general overarching town contracts.
Okay.
So Sarah and Mary, I think I've asked this last year too. Does this include veteran-owned businesses?
No, that's
Not these
Is that a separate?
specifically, it's a separate
Okay.
one, which I think we've already updated.
And there are certain funding programs that may have that as an extra caveat in it, but it's not included in
In this
this in
particular?
particular.
Okay.
yes.
And however, sometimes when you have to document the involvement of these businesses, that can really get technical
Yes.
and really deeply involved. Especially when you have to go on a site and interview the workers. You have to, because I've had to do that.
As have I. As have I.
You
The
have to
minimum
track
wage,
their
minimum all
hours
that,
and
yeah.
things of this nature. It can really be time consuming and really technical.
Yes, yes. And just to clarify, I think I said this, but I may not have been clear. There is an actual certification process for a business to be declared as a minority or women-owned business. It's not just a matter of saying,
I am.
I am.
Yeah.
The state of Maryland DHCD funding also requires that.
I had to go on a construction site, and it was something that I did not want to do.
I'm quite hopeful that we have a project manager who will be managing that project at that point. That would not be me.
We'll get you a big hard hat.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna give me a big hard hat, then I will do it.
That'll be the kicker. That'll be what changes their mind.
Are there any comments? Are there other comments from the council? Is there any comments from the public?
Motion to approve 2024-67.
Second?
It has been moved and properly moved by Jay, second by Steve, that motion 2467 be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 2024 is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're on C. Motion 2024-68, and that's going to be presented by Tim.
Good evening, do I say mayor and council?
Yes.
I'm here seeking approval tonight on motion 2024, I'm sorry.
68.
I'm sorry, 2024-68, I was looking at the RFP. It's the motion of the mayor and council, Town of Berlin, to award RFP 2024-04, electric advanced metering infrastructure, which is AMI, to NextGrid, with a total contract amount of $893,339, which includes a 20-year prorated warranty. Additionally, the town of Berlin will incur an annual cost of $18,456 for maintenance and professional service fees once the AMI system is deployed. The $18,456 annually, that's basically a hosting fee for hosting the system on the cloud. Also for technical support, software updates and that type of thing. This has been a long process for evaluating the bidders that bidded on this project. There was a total of 7 bidders that bidded on it. Should I mention their names?
You don't need to.
I don't need to.
It's all in the packet.
All right, there was a total of 7 vendors that bidded on the project. The major requirements were designed as future backwards compatibility, control and monitoring capability, outage detection and reporting, and advanced safety features. Out of the 7, it boiled down to 2 vendors. One of the vendors bidded a total price of $500,260, which did not include the 20-year warranty that we required for this bid. Plus, there's a reoccurring cost of $7,200 per year, and the 20-year warranty cost for the extra 20 years is $171,612. NextGrid's valuation, the initial total cost is $893,339, which includes the 20-year warranty. Reoccurring costs are $18,456 per year for the hosting fee. The 20-year warranty cost basically adds up to $130,800, which is included in the initial total cost that NextGrid put in for the bid. I received a letter from Booth Associates, which was heavily involved in the evaluation process of the vendors that bid on the RFP. Said most of the proposals address the major requirements with the following exceptions. We had some that didn't. They didn't mention the backwards compatibility. Didn't mention advanced safety features. Another company did not mention the advanced safety features that we require, and 2 of the other vendors do not offer a 20-year warranty. Our first choice would be NextGrid. NextGrid has the lowest cost and reoccurring costs. They offer a complete solution which features both seamless integration with Tyler, which is the software that we use right now, and the Modern Tech ecosystem, which is also future-proof. Their standard 2-year warranty is similar to others, but the additional warranty up to 20 years is already included in the price. I also reached out to 4 of the vendors 4 of the municipalities that NextGrid mentioned in their RFP, just to get their feelings about NextGrid. I'm not going to mention the names of the towns, but one of them has a total of 10,300 customers. The town of Berlin has about 2,900 customers. So they're a lot larger than we are. And I asked the question on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate them, 10 being the highest? And it was 10 was the response I got. Then I reached out to another one, which was located in Tennessee. They have 8,250 meters. The system was deployed in 2012. And they came back on a scale of 1 to 10. They said about an 8. In the beginning, they had a few issues, but they got the bugs worked out of it, and everything seems to be going well now. They said it was a good choice that they went with NextGrid. And then another municipality is located in Pennsylvania. They deployed the system in 2012, and I asked them the same question on a scale of 1 to 10. Where would you rate NextGrid? And they also said at a 10, the highest rating. So out of all the vendors that I talked to, they all seem very pleased with NextGrid. And I'm asking for your approval to approve their request. I'm asking approval for motion 2024-68.
Natalie, Mary, Tim, is this part of the bond? Correct. Yeah, okay, this is part of the
$1
bond.
million
Yes.
in the bonds inside for this.
And then my only other question is, Tim, can you kind of just give a brief, for everyone out there listening in LAMP, how this will benefit them?
Several ways. An automatic meter system basically gives us the capability of reading the meter every 15 minutes versus we go out and read it at the end of the month now. So you can remotely, customer service, for example, could go into the system and they could actually read the meter in real time. It also gives the customer a portal that they can go to and see real-time usage. For example, when their air conditioning kicks on or their heater kicks on, they can actually see their power consumption rise. So they could actually, sit at home and tweak their electric system themselves to reduce their power consumption. It also gives us the capability for outage monitoring. Let's say, for example, I'll just take Decatur Farms, okay? Let's say in Decatur Farms that we lost the right side of Decatur Farms as you go in and you turn to the right on Dolan Way. We would actually see that on a map. It would pop up with every meter that goes out. So that tells us, since we know the system, okay, we have this side of the road out, we don't have to go hunt and search for the problem. We know if this part of the road is out, we know that it serves from this cabinet, so it reduces your outage time and our response time. It also can monitor the consumption on our transformers. Let's say, for example, somebody puts in a couple of EV charging stations. Well, they're very high in demand. They can actually damage our transformers. If somebody was to install a EV charging station, we could actually tell that by looking at the system because we would see the demand climb on our transformer, which in turn could prevent us, from damaging the equipment and expand the lifespan of the equipment. So there's several bells and whistles that come with this system. It's very elaborate, very, very detailed. So there's a lot that we can do with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim, on the NextGrid proposal, it states that their our return on investment will happen between 2 and 5 years.
That's correct.
Exactly how does that play out?
Well, it plays for metering, for example, we have to do, okay, let's say at the end of the month, we go out and we read meters manually like we do now, for example. Well, Michelle in customer service, she has to enter the data by hand for each meter. The way it works now is if you go to AMI, you'll be able to download the readings in 10 to 15 minutes for the entire town. Then it can be imported electronically to Tyler software, which in turn can figure out the billing portion of it. So we're cutting down on the labor side of the data entry. That's one place it saves us. It also, for example, if we see a very high usage on a customer, we can actually contact them. Instead of, good examples in the wintertime, I get a lot of calls about high bills. And then I have to sit down, I have to figure out, the consumption over the past 6 months. And I have to go sit with the customer and explain to them, well, during this month, your demand jumped up to 3,000 kWh. And then I found out that they had their heat on at 78 degrees. Well, that's why the consumption is so high. So with AMI, you can actually tell there's an issue ahead of time, and you can meet with the customer and say, hey, you might want to think about cutting back on your consumption, which helps them on the bill side. And also on the safety side, it has temperature sensing. So let's say you set your temperature rate at let's just say 120 degrees, for example. Let's say it goes above 120 to 130, it automatically sends us an alarm that we should go check that meter because there could be a fire hazard. Okay, which we do find that sometimes we'll go out and open a meter and we find that there's been arcing inside the meter, which could have caused a fire. Well, the system will now notify us ahead of time that, hey, there's a potential issue here, we need to go out and check that.
As to the labor side of it, we're not really reducing jobs in Berlin, so we still employ the same amount of people.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not really saving on labor, you're just assigning those folks.
That's correct.
You're freeing them up to do other things.
So you got to figure, we read meters about 2 to 2.5 days a month.
Right.
That's the entire crew.
Yeah.
So for those 2.5 days, I definitely have other work for them to do.
Right. Okay, that's good. So assuming, you're putting in new meters in every resident's home.
Yes.
Can a resident refuse to have one of these installed?
They can. The state of Maryland does give the customer that option.
What happens then?
But the Public Service Commission gives us the option to charge them to manually read the meter.
Charge them an additional fee?
That's
if
correct.
they don't
Yeah, because we're trying to get away from that.
Sure.
We have to go to the customer's home, and if they do refuse it, the PSC, Public Service Commission, does allow us to charge them because we're manually have to get there to read the meter.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, they will still get the meter, but we will turn off the radio read function, is that correct?
Yes, they'll get the same meter, we just
Right.
turn it off.
Right.
Is all. Or we can leave a regular meter in there and read it.
Those fail though, at some point
Yeah.
the mechanics get old and they stop working.
But, we can turn off the radio function to it. And use it that way.
Would that fee to be, that fee would be to be determined?
Well, for electric in particular, the state of Maryland heavily regulates that. I don't know what that fee would be, but it is something that we'll probably be discussing with you at a later date regarding the water meters as well.
Maybe bill, they would get that bill monthly, where you have to come out.
Correct.
It makes
There are
a lot of
different
sense.
ways of doing it, yeah.
Really, truly, I mean, the liability alone in going out and read these daggone meters is crazy. Having done it, having seen it, climbing over
No,
different things, going behind bushes and all kinds of nonsense, just to read a meter.
yeah. Another thing that this system will,
All right.
one more thing it will have is sometimes we get calls at night. For example, on Germantown Road recently, we had a car that hit a house, and we got a call from the fire department to disconnect power. So they had to wait till we got there to shut the power down to the house because where the car hit was right where the meter was. With AMI, we can remotely shut the meter off. We don't have to go right to the house. We can do it remotely.
Now, when you mentioned the part about the alert when there's an outage, so it made me think about the example of the house where there was no one lives there primarily, but the outage happened. You know what I mean? Would you get an alert, and the outage was only limited to like 3 houses? Remember that?
Yes.
3 houses, and it was like 3 in the morning.
Yes.
And the primary resident, which caused the flip or whatever it was, no one lives there primarily.
That's
So in instances like that, would you get an alert?
Yes.
Or, okay, so it wouldn't have to be waiting for that other neighbor to call?
No.
Love it.
No. What it does is senses that the source power went out to the feed of the meter, which in turn the monitoring system stops in it.
Mhm.
So that automatically sends an alarm up.
Proceeding with this endeavor will do 2 things. It will assist our electric department to operate more effectively and efficiently. And it will provide the customer information at a moment's notice as to how they can monitor the usage of their electricity, which serves us all better, a lot better.
That's correct.
Somewhere here, you're only as good as the information you have available. Now, when Tim first came, the town of Berlin would have outages that lasted hours at a time. This young man has put in procedures and gizmos where he can figure out at a moment's notice which pole to go to. And ultimately, that serves us, the Berlin customer. So I think this is a good thing. Do we have any comments from the public concerning this motion? If not,
Motion to approve 2024-68.
Second.
it has been properly moved and moved by Councilmember Orris and second by Councilmember Nichols that this motion be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? The ayes have it.
This is good. I mean, this will answer, you know, that myth people are like, oh my God, my neighbors put their Christmas lights up and now everybody in the town's electric bill is going up because of it. So now, really and truly, you can look at your own bill and you can see why having that heater under your bed and an electric blanket on your couch while you watch the TV.
Yep.
Yeah. And Tim's right back with us with moving on the agenda to item D, motion 2429, Salvage Substation Pole Barn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here seeking approval on motion 2024-69, Savage Substation Pole Barn. This was in the budget. Funding is already approved for it in the 2025 budget. Anyway, the motion is the mayor and the council of Town of Berlin to award pole barn extension project located at 113 Schoolfield Street to Page Industrial Services Incorporated in the amount of $66,935.56. All work will be completed in accordance with defined scope and pursuit. This is through a Sourcewell contract. We've done that several times before on buying vehicles. Our solar system, for example, at 13 Schoolfield Street is through Sourcewell. That's a government bidding contract location that you can go through. The company that is under Sourcewell is a company called Page Industrial Services Incorporated. I'm sure you look through the packet, you could look at all the hardware, material, that type of stuff. And they partnered with Delmarva Builders out of Delaware. And I've met with them, I don't know, probably 3 times on site. And we've looked at the existing building, and it's pretty much going to be identical to what the pole barn is we have there now. They're just extending it another 50 feet. That's also being done for the future work that's going to be done at Heron Park. We have equipment and material that is stored over at Heron Park, and we have to find a place to put it because that building's going to be taken down and then they're going to build a new one. So that was part of the reason of extending the pole barn. So I'm seeking approval for motion 2024-69.
Tim, are you connecting the existing building with this new one?
Actually, it's not going to be fully connected, it's going to be like right up against it.
And how much was it budgeted for?
I originally budgeted 60,000 for it, and came back at 66, so I got with Natalie, and we actually have $6,000 left over from the fence project that he did at Schoolfield Street, so that's going to be applied towards this project.
Great.
But since it's in the same line item, I don't believe it requires council approval.
You're like a budget kind of guy, aren't you? Just
Little bit.
saving and spending.
I got the 56 cents.
Yes, take the 56 cents.
Sounds great.
I'm impressed.
Do we have comments from the public?
Motion to approve 2024-69.
Second.
It has been moved in by Councilmember Nur and seconded by Councilmember Orris that motion 2024-69 be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Motion 69 is approved. There has been a revision to the agenda, and we have added an item E. Item E is a motion 2024-70, authorizing certain actions regarding ARPA funds. Natalie?
Good evening. Before I jump in the agenda item, and Kate is pulling the spreadsheet, so it will be easier to understand because there are a bunch of numbers. I just want to say that it seems like approving next week is just regular agenda, but if you look back, Mr. Burrell, you've been on the trips with us how many years ago? 10 years ago, looking for that system in other towns that installed, and that is way past due. I'm very happy to see that item getting approved and the electric department move into actual technology where we don't have to go on site every month with pen and paper and go and actually in the system that is going to work for us really well. And NextGrid is already on site. We have about 100+ meters as a pilot been installed, I want to say 6 years ago.
Almost 9.
9 years ago. And now we're going to just expand to the whole entire town of Berlin. I think that's great.
And to have a system that is compatible with Tyler, that's a good thing also.
Right. So the agenda item that been added and the whole entire thing becomes a revision. ARPA have notified all the municipalities that are recipients of ARPA grant that the funds have to be obligated. It was very vague at the beginning of what obligations are served. And thinking that we have the motion and we have the capital projects allocated would be fair enough to say that all of the funds obligated and they're all on the budget, of course. Nevertheless, we have to have a little bit more extra paperwork. And reviewing the ARPA spreadsheet that I have provided several meetings ago, we noticed that there are 3 items and they're highlighted on the screen. The planning comprehensive plan, the Powelton Avenue, yes, Powelton Avenue projects. We don't have an existing contract signed per se in the moment. We have work performed, we have several expenses paid to DBF, and we have expenses paid to the planning comprehensive plan by a third party. So to be qualifying those projects as obligated by the end of December, we need to have a certain paperwork in place. So my proposal is to rename the planning comprehensive plan of $21,270 and move that amount to a parking study where we can contract with DPF to conduct that very soon. And then rebudget that project in fiscal 26 at the later terms. Also, previously we have reallocated the rails and trails and the remainder of $100 to a parking study. And mayor has proposed to enter into the agreement to rent, to lease a lot for the parking. And that details is on the motion in front of you. We also ask him to agree to sign the paperwork with TPF and Company to continue doing the work for the Powelton Avenue. So basically what it is right now is putting the paperwork in place so we obligate those funds before December 31st. And the remainder projects are in a good state because we have existing contracts.
I'd like to just offer a little more clarification. What Natalie mentioned about the difference as far as ARPA is concerned between an obligation. We considered it obligated because we budgeted it. They want to see an actual agreement in place by December 31st. And we just learned this last week. So we're scrambling to do this. DBF has been working on the Powelton Avenue project under their general engineering on-call services. They require a more specific agreement for that, which is why it's not new that they're working on it, but they require a more specified agreement. As to the other items, they're pretty well spelled out in the motion. It would just be if you had any specific questions.
Which I do.
Okay.
And I'm working on that New Year's resolution, so I'm trying to get more down. The, I guess the downtown parking study, is this phase 3 of the one that was already done in that phase like 8 years ago?
It's part of a continuation of that, but it's not really, well, that one was done quite some time ago.
Right, I mean, it's up to date, so that's what I'm just...
Yes, DBF has already, again, under their general on-call services, been doing some parking-related work for us. This, again, firms that into a more specified agreement.
And I just want to reemphasize that the planning comp plan is not being withdrawn, it's going to be
Correct.
folded into the FY26.
We're not taking
Right.
it away. We are
Right.
just renamed, because we're funded by ARPA, and we don't have a contractor in place to continue this study. We're just going to reallocate this particular amount to the parking study, move it, and then we will rebudget it in fiscal 26.
Just want to, for everyone out there in the listening land.
Correct. Especially in light of not having a planning director, chances are by the time they were able to actually pull together the pre-work that needed to be done on a comp plan, we would be moving into the FY26 budget anyway.
And then this 4,000 remaining, what is that going to, that's going to have to go to something, right?
That's going to go to the parking study as well, I believe. Yes.
So this action is necessary because we had a different definition of obligated than the department.
And we are not alone. The email that the third-party group that is handling the ARPA funds sent out, the email that they sent out, said, it's come to our understanding that many municipalities.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I can tell you this, being on the parking subcommittee along with Steve and the mayor, we've been working on this for a long time. So getting parking in place, additional parking in place for Berlin will be a huge, huge addition. And it's huge help for the downtown parking situation.
Because the downtown parking situation is really a situation that requires attention. If you have ever had your mother-in-law come downtown and try to find a parking space so she can go to the hairdresser, and if you get that wrath, it needs to be looked at.
How about when you can't go on date night because your husband's impatient because he can't find a parking space, and then you end up at home making dinner? Yeah, no. Yeah, so.
Do we have more comment from the council? Comment from the public?
Motion to approve 2024-70.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Green and second by Councilmember Nichols that 2024-70 be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed?
Natalie, can we, can we, since this was a kind of an agenda change or an add-on, not right now, but once everything gets kind of finalized, are we able to maybe put this on the website or something like this so that folks can see it? Maybe not the numbers per se, but what the projects are and how is that?
Well, the motion has been uploaded to the website. Is that?
No, but I mean like this.
Talking about the summary of the
Like
projects
this,
that
yeah,
are
like
funded
a
by
project,
ARPA?
yeah, like an ARPA.
We can
summary.
upload the projects that are completed and still ongoing, funded by ARPA, but I wouldn't put all the numbers.
No, that's
Up
fine,
to
just
Congress.
kind of like an update.
Sure,
like, so,
we
yeah.
can do that.
Okay, thank you.
And this also, just to clarify as well, is we still have until 2026 to expend the funds.
So the details to add, December 31st, 2024, we have to have a formal obligation, which is not constituent of the budget obligation or encumbrance by a purchase order. So it has to be a written agreement or contract or lease between the town of Berlin and the third-party vendor contractor. So that's why we're jumping a little bit faster here that needed to have that agreement with DEF and to have this agreement to lease the parking lot with the third party. After that, the reporting is due in April of 2025. And then we have 3 years till 2026 to expense everything that remaining, which at this moment we have 922,000 left out of a whole entire 4.8 million that we have received. So I am pretty confident we will be able to expense all of the funds by 2026. It's 3 years in the future.
Moving right along, item number 4. Tim again. TJM quarterly report.
Yes, since we're a member of PJM, just to let everybody know, PJM manages the transmission, distribution electric system over 13 states. We're a member of PJM, so we're required to give what's called the quarterly report, which seems to be almost every month.
It feels like
But anyway, this is for July through September. The energy sold by the town of Berlin was, to us, basically was 12,742,722. AMP, which we're also a member of that, AMP charges us for handling the electricity basically that we consume for the town of Berlin. So AMP's bill for the quarter, July through September, was $483,351. PJM charged $382,561, and then we received a credit back, which is called ARR. We received a credit of $70,658. At the power plant, as far as fuel consumption, peak shaving, lube oil, we spent $59,383. Total power cost for that quarter was $854,637. Cost per kWh sold was 0.06707.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did seem like it was just last month.
It does, it does.
It seems like it's,
Again?
Do you have any questions or comments from the council or the public concerning Tim's report?
Thank you.
If not, we'll move right along. Reports from town administrators and departments.
The one thing that I want to note is this is our last meeting for 2024. There will be no second December meeting. The first January meeting will be on January 13th, which is why I said earlier it's like 5 weeks between meetings this time. The town holidays that are coming up are Tuesday and Wednesday, December 24th and 25th, and Tuesday and Wednesday, December 3rd 31st and January 1st. Most town offices are closed on those days. Information about amendments to trash schedules, et cetera, are available on the website. And I will be out of the office on Thursday and Friday this week. That's all I have.
Department?
The audit will be completed and presented in January 1st meeting. We normally have December meeting audit, but we're just pushing it a little bit further.
I love that gift, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary, can I ask just, I know Jamie's done here, how did the meeting go with the lead?
Went very well, actually. There were a few questions, but most of the folks in attendance understood what we had put out there and what was, at this point, it's a lot of, stay tuned. We'll reach out again when there's more information. But it went very well. The video of that meeting is available on the website for anybody to watch, and obviously anyone can call and ask questions.
I mean, I did rewatch it, I watched it the next day, so kudos. I thought that Jamie and Megan and yourself did a great job presenting the information, so, thanks.
Mary, I have a follow-up question on that. So, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, I heard it was very good. But I received one of those letters too, that said unknown lead. Right. But my housing street development was built in 1987. There's no chance that it could be that.
Right, and that is the case. Some of it came down to timing. We had to get those letters out, and so if we were not able to completely establish that the letter copper was not used in your pipes, you needed to get a letter. So there are a number of people who've reached out in the meantime to Jamie and said, my house was built later, or I had my entire system replaced.
It just
so
hasn't been reviewed.
Exactly. But better safe than sorry, everyone who we couldn't be 100% sure on, we needed to inform.
Just have a question for Ivy. Under your report, Ice Ice Berlin, I think was fantastic. Very much enjoyed it. Just had a question really from your perspective. The number of sponsorships, were you pleased with that? Is that about what it, of the ice sculptures, about what you expected or about what is normal?
So typically we have more than 30,
Okay.
and this year we had 29 with the Dreamweaver sponsoring 2 ice sculptures. So some of the businesses did not choose to sponsor this year. And we are unable to hold the event if the businesses don't sponsor an ice sculpture.
Was it tough to get sponsors this year? I know you got 29, but.
No, I don't think it was tough. I think that there were some new sponsors and then some previous sponsors decided not to this year.
Is there a minimum number that you internally need?
Well, I try to do at least 30. So there was one that backed out at the last minute.
Gotcha.
Great.
Is there a
Thanks.
minimum that the sculptor says you have to have this many, or he's not coming?
Well, there is, but it's a little bit less than 30.
Okay,
But to make it an event.
yes.
Yeah. It was nice to see the weather. Remember 2 years ago, it was warm, crazy warm, right? So it was nice to see them around for a good part of the weekend.
Yeah, it was nice and cold.
Yeah, I know. It's cold.
Mary, one question on planning department. I noticed that one of the release permits was for the Heaven Savings Bank. But if we have a moratorium, how is that?
They had already had their final site approval, so this is just refining.
Just
and, yeah.
And review.
So Ivy, I must say, I had tunnel vision for the last month and a half. Every weekend was dedicated to football. And my mind was, everybody in town is not ice, and they will be at the football game. But I will say, I was impressed. Like, you had a lot of folks in town Friday.
Yeah, it was a little bit, just a little bit.
A little bit. This place was packed. There were a lot of
There was
people. There were a lot of people.
People want to be part of that feeling that the town of Berlin exudes.
And a lot of people, it's like becoming the statement that this is the Hallmark town. I can't say that we are Hallmark USA, but if there's a title out there somewhere, you might want to look for it, because
In this past month alone, I think I've heard that at least a dozen times from people, that this is the Hallmark movie, all they need is a love story.
And I think there may be one out there, who knows? But, you know, when you think about some of the other towns, you know, I follow a lot of other downtowns and main streets across the country, and we are still one of the only ones, yeah, we're a small town, but we decorate our own Christmas tree. So many others, they hire a company, and the company comes down and they set up this big plastic or wire tree, and then they set it up, and then all of a sudden it's there. But there's something to be said for town staff and the community that gets together, and, you know, it looks like it was decorated by us. It's got its, I think its imperfections makes it perfect. So there's something, I think people like to be a part, they don't feel, it seems it's more real down here in Berlin, and that's the kind of marketing that we try to do for people to come here, and so far it's worked.
Oh, in the restaurants afterwards too, you know, after the trees illuminated. I mean, we went to one, it was a 2-hour wait. I mean, they were like basically not going to be able to get you tonight, you know, and it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's that time of the day where people come before because they want to be there.
Yeah.
I saw people lining up in the hotel. The hotel was busy from 3 o'clock on. So people come and eat before, and then, you know, those who don't get there in time, they stay and eat after. So the restaurants do really well. The businesses did well that night.
Yeah.
Just one more thing for Ivy and the chief and those that planned and coordinated the parade. It was a great event. It was very well attended, even with the sub-degree temperature. But its organization, implementation, is really second to none. And I do believe that your leadership, and with the assistance of our chief and the other departments, it's just an accolade to the town of Berlin and the staff, because it was a wonderful event. And I, for one, had to have special accommodations to participate in the parade. And I just want to thank the effort led by Jim and Charles to make sure that I had what I needed for my participation. You will never know how greatly that effort was appreciated. And Jim is not here this evening, but I just wanted to give him his accolades publicly because he helped me greatly. And Mary, could you please share with Jimmy?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was it you that kept hitting the lights and sirens?
And that was Jimmy.
At your request.
Do we have comments from the public? Comments from the council?
I'll start. First of all, a huge congratulations to the Stephen Decatur football team. That game was truly amazing. Great win, great success. So congratulations to that. What I wanted to throw out there was in reference to the moratorium. I know it's probably going to come up in January. I spoke to the mayor about this. I feel strongly that we need to think about lifting the moratorium. It's time to get back in business. I don't wish any more work for Mary. I know it puts a ton of weight on her shoulders, but there's a lot of projects that are being backed up and withheld that I think we need to start moving forward. It's been a tough road trying to get a planning director. We're still working on that, but even without a planning director in place, I think that we as a council need to consider when we hear in January that we lift the moratorium. So I just throw it out there, and if you want to say something, that's fine.
Oh, I do. No, I tend to be in agreement, so, but what I'm hearing is you're okay with waiting the 5 weeks we have left on it, obviously, because we're not meeting.
Correct.
So-
Yeah, it's not, nothing we'll do tonight, but we'll only discuss it in January.
It's a placeholder on the
Right.
January meeting agenda.
So for the projects that are backlogged, how would we work through those without the director?
Well, there's people waiting to submit. You know, we're still going to retain Rick. And,
So are there people waiting to submit? Because they
Yes.
could be submitting, right?
no.
They could be submitting, we just can't take action on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
Yeah.
it's a semantics thing in a way, but I just,
But I will say
yeah.
that
It's a good, I mean,
the projects that have garnered the most attention still have outstanding items that they need to pull together before they're ready to go for final approvals. So it's not as if we have final plans in the queue waiting to go. We're still looking for more articles.
I was just trying to get clarity on.
Yeah.
so it also kind of feels like if the moratorium is lifted, then they'll come in.
Things like
I don't
You know, I
know.
mean, that's because.
Yeah, I can't speak to
No, I
where they
don't
are in
say
their
maybe,
process with their architects and engineers, but.
I just don't want to start 2025 with a message saying we're closed for business. I mean, we need to start moving forward. That's my.
And who knows, we might,
Right.
who knows?
Are there other items from the council?
Oh, I'm left.
Well, I'm gonna go after you, I'm just going the way we should.
Oh, wow, listen to this guy. Oh, Jack, the boss.
No, no.
Hey. Great holiday season here in Berlin. You know, like I said a few minutes ago, a lot of people are talking or speak highly of the holidays in Berlin as being one of the highlights of their year. Of course, the farmer's market is right up there with it, but kudos to Ivy and the economic development team along with all of the support. Because you guys, regardless of what our neighboring towns and municipalities may think, people come to the shore for Berlin as well. Hands down, they do. I almost brought my cowbell because it's still in the car and that thing is still hot. Man, this weekend's football game, this season was phenomenal. Stephen Decatur, I don't know what day the mayor, I can't tell him what to do, but mayor, I don't know what day you plan on having them in here to clap them up and accommodate those fellas or at least recognize them. But guys, you did a great job as a town recognizing them with this parade on Saturday night coming home from that game. Those boys, they're a phenomenal group of children, and to watch them play this team that they played literally the same time last year, well, a week earlier last year, and to defeat them again, and to humbly say congratulations or good job to those folks when some of them came there. Kudos to that coaching staff and the parents for raising a fine group of young men, because they left there very kind. They could have been rude, but they were not, because some folks were rude there, but those boys were not. They were very respectable athletes and fabulous sports. So kudos to them and their staff for all of those things, but woo, what a season. This was better than watching daggone professional football all season long. I mean, I'm a little partial, but yeah. And happy holidays to all of those out there.
Yeah, so I just, you know, I want to say, you know, 2024 has been a year, you know, for us, you know, here as a town and everybody. And I want to thank my colleagues, thank staff, thank the residents for, you know, working with us throughout 2024. And I want to echo what Vice President Burrell said about the parade. It was great. And I also want to give a shout out to the volunteers, the extra volunteers that help us do that. I know way back when I was a volunteer, and it's a fun little thing to do, you know, and I really appreciate the folks that still do that. And also kudos to Stephen Decatur football team. It was a great, really a great end of the season, you know, playoffs and the games. That was awesome. I want to throw out a thank you to my colleagues and residents again and staff for my absence earlier last month. All is well, so that's good. Thank you so much for all the well wishes. I want to also say I had a great time hanging out with staff when we decorated the tree. So that was an awesome time. And finally, I say it every year, I say Merry Christmas, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, safe and Happy New Year. Thank you.
My gift is that I don't have anything to add.
That's the start of it, right? I love it.
Comments from the mayor, Eric?
I do have a few comments from the mayor. If you don't mind, I'll speak on his behalf. Mayor Zach asked me to pass along his congratulations to the Stephen Decatur High School football team. Amazing, just to repeat everything, not to repeat what everyone said, but they did such a great job, and I'm sure we'll coordinate on a clap up event type thing that you mentioned, Councilmember Nichols. Second, Mayor Zach wants to extend a huge thank you to Ivy, to Allison, to all of the staff and everyone who here at the departments and all the staff who are not here tonight, and our volunteers who made a very successful, if cold, parade. And also very special happy holiday wishes from Mayor Zach and his family, which, as everyone here knows, has grown since the last council meeting, with the addition of Benjamin on November 16th. And just a plug from me that the Garden flags are still available for sale, and they are actually offered at the Mary Marketplace. So we have some volunteers who are selling them if you want to pick one up. It's a really great holiday gift and will look great in the new year. Thank you.
One more thing. Everyone loved those Keeping Warm in Berlin mugs that we had hot chocolate in several years ago. So those mugs are back at Mary Marketplace, but we're also, for a $5 donation, you can purchase for a donation a mug at the Welcome Center. We have a box of those, so if you want one of those Berlin mugs, it's only $5 donation. And that goes to the Ocean City Berlin Rotary Club.
Well, ours goes to the community center, so.
Since we're talking donations, and we talked about Steve Decatur's football team, there's a GoFundMe on they're trying to raise funds to get those championship rings. That, and I think the total cost is like $20,000. So to the audience, both here and in Facebook land, I think you can find the GoFundMe on Facebook some kind of way. But it is out there. Do we have any comments from the press?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. We're on the 16th day, he said just stop.